Welcome, everyone. So, the altar that we have today is all in the spirit of play and creativity. You'll notice the candles that are beautiful candles donated by our Sangha member Michael, who has the pink flamingo um, picture. But there's also this giant circle. It's an upside down hat box. And on top of it, if you look closely, are all these Power Ranger toys. And these Power Ranger toys are all about cultivating our power, our superpowers, and our capacity to overcome adversity. They're also there sort of symbolizing the ways that we are surrounded by unseen forces. We are protected by unseen forces. Today in our Satyaseva practice, we did a savoring meditation, which is all about interconnection. And interconnection simply is a gentle reminder that if not for the kindness of hundreds, if not thousands of people, we wouldn't have the food we eat. We wouldn't have the clothes we wear. We wouldn't have the cars we drive. There are so many things in our lives that are touched by hundreds, if not thousands of people that we will never, ever meet. We'll never know them. We'll never know their stories. But we are connected to them, and their kindness brings and breathes life to our own. And so we are surrounded by that energetic goodness. And so we begin our practice in that spirit. And in our book, the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, we are in chapter 2, and this is all about purifying negativity. Now, one of the things that I want to make very clear about a Buddhist practice working with negativity that's very different than some of the Western conditioning that we might have adopted in a Judeo-Christian practice is that in a Judeo-Christian practice, so much of the negativity that we experience is governed around words like sin, guilt, shame. In a Buddhist practice, the negativity is really framed around words like ignorance. We act in unskillful, unethical ways because we are ignorant of the nature of reality. We are engaging in life with a distorted perspective. And so, one of the things that we do to purify that negativity, to purify that ignorance, to purify and to open up and bring clarity to our unskillfulness and our misconduct, is we lean into it. We really try to get to understand it. And Shantideva in this chapter begins by inviting us to notice. Notice the beauty of your life. In the first several verses of this chapter, all he's talking about is look at the beautiful things around you. And there's so much of it, and you're a part of it. And what's interesting to me on the journey of recovery is so much of this particular journey prior to arriving at the threshold of recovery is years of habit energy, years of abuse, neglect, shadow, darkness, suffering. And so we can begin to internalize that, and suddenly the things that I do that aren't very good becomes I'm no good. And that is one of those distorted perceptions that Shantideva is like, hey, yo, no, you are inherently amazing, but your actions have been ignorant. So why don't you sit down, chill out, breathe, and let's look at it. So that's what we're going to do today, okay? What I'd like you to do and what I invite you to do is arrive. And so I'm going to invite the chime to sing one more time. And I'd like you to find a posture in the body that feels at home and at ease. And if that means lying down, friends, please do. And if that means falling asleep, bravo you. On the journey of recovery, we need to rest. And we don't always give ourselves permission to, and we don't always have the time to rest. So if your body is needing a little bit of rest, lie down, relax, close your eyes, and enjoy this time of receiving and listening. As I mentioned, the first 6 verses of chapter 2 are all about noticing small wonders and taking those small wonders as offerings. So the fact that you're noticing, the fact that you're aware, can be used as an offering. What are we offering? What is Shantideva offering? Or to whom is he offering? He's offering his awareness to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas that have come before him, that are teachers and sources of inspiration to keep him going, to inspire him, and to motivate him. Last week, I brought forward the verses about humility. And he is talking about how he knows that he wants to be of benefit to other people, but he also recognizes that in order to do that, he needs those who are farther along to guide him, to inspire him, to keep the bumpers up of his life, to make sure that when he falls back into habit energy, complacency, familiarity, he can turn to teachers, he can turn to people who are more practiced, who can bring him back, gently steering him back to his own good heart and his own wise mind. We begin today with verse 10. And I'd like to remind you that this is an interpretation of writing that comes from the 8th century. India. So culturally, there are rituals and ceremonies, attitudes and language that are very different, and I will address that in my own interpretation. For now, I just would like to read for you a few verses, starting with 10. Within this sweetly scented bathing chamber, with a clear and glistening crystal floor, majestic pillars ablaze with jewels, and canopies of radiant pearls spread aloft, with many jeweled vases filled to the brim with scented waters that steal the mind. And to the accompaniment of music and song, I offer ablution to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. I dry their bodies with matchless claws that are immaculately clean and scented. Then I offer to the holy beings fragrant garments in magnificent colors. With various excellent raiments, fine and smooth, and a multitude of supreme ornaments, I adorn Arya, Samantabhadra, Manjushri, and Avalokiteshvara, and all others. So what's he talking about? What's he doing? So weird. With this sweetly scented bathing chamber, he's brought us into the bathroom. Like, what's going on here, peeps? And he has. So he's brought us into a purifying bath. And what I love about this poetry is you can take it literally. Like he's describing a palace, these jeweled, bedecked, dazzling place, pillars and crystal floors. You can take that literally, palatially, or you can take it as poetry and metaphor. And you can imagine that he's in a forest by a river or a lake. And the beautiful pillars are actually trees. The pearls aloft are the stars that he sees. The point is, Shantideva is bringing us into a ritualistic idea of purifying through the act of bathing, symbolizing the act of cleansing. And this ceremoniously, back in the 8th century, was really, really important. They probably did not bathe daily like we do. So because these were a people that bathed infrequently, when people did bathe, it was ceremonious. And remember that ritual, any kind of ritual that you engage, is an enactment of an intention. So what he's asking and what he's modeling is to bring reverence by virtue of bathing. And so when you have a mind that wants to bring reverence, then you put that mind into an action. You put that mind intention into an enactment. And so your actions become reverent. In verse 11, he describes beautiful scents, beautiful songs, beautiful distractions. And he's offering all of it, his awareness of each of these things that could distract him from the task. So instead, he's offering it. And my guess is he's washing statues. He's caring for the adornments that are around him. In verse 12, Shantideva continues with the ritual, and what he's doing is he's drying the statues reverently. So he's cleaned them. He's polishing them. He's washing them. And then he covers them. He puts beautiful garments on them. And then he also, in verse 13, he's very specific. He reminds us of who these statues are. One of them is Arya Samtabhadra, who is the bodhisattva of practice and meditation. And this bodhisattva, this wise one that came before Shantideva, who is now in statue form, represents a person who was able to put compassion in action. And so he is trying to work with his own unskillfulness, his own misdeeds, his own mistakes in his life. And one of the ways he's working with any regret is he's coming before this statue and he's like, look, I don't got much, but I can stand before you and I can be fully present to you and what you mean. And I'll clean this statue, I'll clean you. And in that act of reverence, maybe, just maybe, I start to purify my own regret. he mentions Manjushri. And Manjushri is the bodhisattva of wisdom. And in Buddhist iconography, drawings, Manjushri is often depicted as he's kind of a deity with sort of a Maori face. He's got a mask, usually, tongue out, and he's got a sword, and he's got a book. And what that means is his wisdom is so complete, it cuts through all the distortions that keep us ignorant, keep us blind, and brings forward clarity. And finally, he mentions Avalokiteshvara, who is the bodhisattva of great compassion. In Tibetan, this particular bodhisattva is known as Chenrezig. And Chenrezig is symbolized as a bodhisattva with thousands of arms and hands, so that his compassion radiates in limitless directions. In the final verse, Shantideva writes, "Just like polishing pure, refined gold, I anoint the radiant bodies of all the able ones with supreme perfumes, whose fragrance pervades every part of the 3,000 worlds." So he's washed, he's dried, he's clothed, and now he's perfumed these statues. And maybe he's even done this to himself as well. And he makes reference to the goodness of this, the reverence of this permeating into the 3,000 worlds. What on earth is that? This is how I understand this reference to the 3,000 worlds. It's actually a Buddhist teaching. It was picked up in Zen and really taken. And what it refers to is that when you are a Buddha, when you are a Bodhisattva, you have the capacity to see all the perspectives, all the phenomena of life in a single moment. Thousands of perspectives, thousands of experiences defining a human life. You can tap into it in a single eternal moment, maybe even 3,000 of them. So why it gets so specific is a bit of a mystery to me, but the point is that this is a capacity to see so much in a moment. That can be really difficult to digest. And so there's a complementary teaching to this called the 10 worlds. And it's kind of like the baby step entry point. And what the 10 worlds points to is it's not 10 actual worlds or realms. Think of it more like 10 perspectives, 10 experiences, 10 ways of existing in the world, or 10 ways of becoming in the world. And one of the things to think about in the Buddhist tradition is of these 10 worlds, of these 10 perspectives, the vast majority of them are governed by 3 qualities: greed, anger, and ignorance. And what the Buddha taught was that if you are entertaining greed, anger, or ignorance. You distort your perspectives. You distort how you see reality. The Buddha was very clear in that you make your own reality. And so much of how you react to the world is what becomes of the world. So if you are reacting to the world from a place of a lot of ignorance, a lot of anger, a lot of hatred and aggression, you will experience a lot of aggression, a lot of negativity. It's not rocket science. And so one of the ways to move out of that is to begin to cultivate a little bit of reverence. To remember that, okay, while this angry moment feels so real, and it feels like my whole world is all about this hostile moment where I'm just going to lose my shit all over the place. Shantideva's like, dudes, yo, whoa, wait a sec. There's like 3,000 other ways to look at this situation. That's what he means. So what do we do? How do we get there? Breathe. Come home to your own temple. The temple of your heart, the temple of your compassion, the temple of your wisdom. It's all there. And then maybe what you can do is start taking care of your own temple. Start treating it with a little bit of reverence. Offer yourself some beauty. Offer yourself some color, some scent. Slow down, be gentle. These are the ways you slowly shift from these aversive states and these afflicted minds to places open for compassion and care. Shantideva mentioned these Buddhas, these people. I have no idea if they were real. Avalokiteshvara, no idea if he was real. Manjushri, no idea. But here's the thing, their names are still being spoken thousands of years after the fact. Their stories are still being told. So something about them is real. Something about the impression of their compassion, something about the way they live their lives with such joy and reverence and wisdom lives today. And my friends, it breathes in us. So I'd like to take a moment to end our practice with a dedication of merit. And I think I'd like to pick up a bucket of shit. I just think that would be fun to pick that up and carry that around for a bit. And it's because I'm a gardener and I'm actually a farmer. And so shit on a farm is a good thing because it amends the soil. So why don't we think of it that way a little bit, like the potential amendment is in this bucket of shit. But there are some conditions that are involved, like it can't be too rotten and too gross. You have to work with it in order for it to work with the soil and um, reintroduce nutrients to the soil for seeds to thrive and grow. And so just remember that in each of us, this wisdom is like a seed. And so the question is, can you use the shit bucket of your life to also amend and enrich the goodness that is there too? For these new seeds planted within you to emerge and grow. And may that growth could be something that someone else sees. Something beautiful in you, like Tom shared. There's a glow about him. There's a change in him. People see it, they feel it, and they feel better as a result. That is a simple way of being of benefit. We don't have to keep piling on the shit of our lives. We have to wake up to the beauty of it too. Come home, tend the garden, and grow. Thank you so much for your beautiful practice today, friends. You really are wise, wise friends, leaving such powerful inspiration in this beautiful sanctuary. Have a wonderful afternoon. We'll see you next time. Namaste.